Hey guys, so this week I want to talk about insecure attachment and how it shows up in our relationships, what it does to us, to our relationships, and where it comes from. Now, this is something that I struggle with, and I just discovered that. Um, I knew that I had an unhealthy dynamic in romantic relationships, and I didn't understand why I suddenly lost myself every time I went into a relationship. So it started out great. I was me, um, the wonderful person I am, and men fall in love with me, and it's great for a few days. And then something happens in me, something shifts, and I lose myself completely. Yeah, completely. And I will go into that. And now I understand what it is and where it comes from. I'm so excited to finally understand what I've been doing my whole life. Um, yeah. So I have a few notes here. So you'll see me looking at the screen here. Because this is still quite foggy in my head, and this will help me a little bit. But yeah, so basically, um, basically the feeling is, I don't feel loved, I don't feel chosen. This fear of being abandoned, basically. And so my personal story is that in my most recent relationship, what happened was I fixated on every single detail on his energy, on the way he wrote a message. If a word was off, if the timing was off, if, the energy didn't feel right, instead of it just being life and people going through emotions and going through hardship and having stresses in life and sometimes being preoccupied, thinking of something else, or even just being upset with you or not really wanting to deal with you right now. I mean, that happens too. Sometimes we want people more, and sometimes we're a bit like, I need a break, right? Very normal. Not for me, right? Not for my nervous system, not for what I learned. So any shift freaked me out, panicked me to a point where my brain would shut down, where my prefrontal cortex would go offline. I'd be stuck in the limbic system in fight or flight and not being able to think, not being able to rationalize. The only thing I felt was he's abandoning me. I'm losing love. He doesn't love me anymore. It's over. What did I do? Why is he like complete freak out, And then I would start with the texts, you don't love me anymore. Why, I don't feel like you're, and it's such a strain, on myself because I'm like, who is this? 5 hours later, I'm calm again and I look at what I've done and I go, shit, like, what did I do? you know? Yeah. Anyway, so that's what I've been living through, looking back my whole life, and I could not understand it. I'm like, what happens to me? Like, I'm such a nice person, I'm so easygoing, I'm so calm, I'm so centered, I'm so loving. And then I cannot be this person in a relationship. I have never been able to do it. So now I know what's going on, and I think this is going to help me a lot. But I mean, ultimately, it always is, coming back to yourself, being centered, remembering who you are. I'm not this, I'm not the mind, I'm not the body. You can do all of this without learning to go beyond everything, to go beyond separation, to remember the oneness, where you don't attach, you don't identify, and then the person is free. You are free from yourself, your partner is free, and all is good, right? I'm not there. And chances are you're not there yet either. So we try and understand and figure things out to help us until we reach that point where we can comfortably let go of our partner every day, set them free, and feel blessed with what we have each day. And if they are there, then we are happy and blessed, and we show up full, whole, with unconditional love. That's the ultimate goal. But until then, I just want to explain this a little bit because I found it amazingly fascinated. So this is like work from like Bessel van der Kolk and Gabor Mate. But then there's also another man, Tim Fletcher, who basically said what I'm going to say now. And I was amazed, like it hit home. He said it in a way where I was stunned and I could not believe what I had heard because it was 100% my experience and it made 100% sense. It just went straight in and, blew up my mind. It was amazing. So, where the insecure attachment comes from is obviously from our childhood, right? So, when you as a child experience inconsistent care or neglect or unmet needs, then that's where it comes from. So that's called small t trauma, which is not something that's happening to you, like trauma, something happened to you, but the small t trauma is where something that should happen to you does not happen. So as a child, you're meant to be loved. You're meant to be taken care of. Your needs are meant to be met. You're meant to feel safe. And when that doesn't happen, you develop small t trauma. So what that does to you is you fawn and people please. So you learn you're not safe, you're not getting what you need. So now you sort of ignore your own needs and you try and think, what are their needs? Because if I look after them, then they will look after me and I'll be safe. I will do what they want and then they will look after me, then I'm safe. Because otherwise you feel like you're being abandoned, because you are being abandoned. You're not being looked after properly. So your survival instinct just, you can't fight. Like fight and flight doesn't work for a child. You can't fight. You're way too little. And you can't leave. You can't flee because you actually need these people to keep you alive because you're a child, right? So you're stuck with the people that abuse you or neglect you. And you have to make it work. And for a little child to have to do that, like, it's heartbreaking. But I think about 80% of us go through this. It's so common. So we learn to neglect ourselves and to watch really carefully how our caretakers are feeling. We attune to their moods, we attune to their energy. So, like we hyper attune so much because our survival depends on it. And then we try and make them happy and we try to figure out what they want so we can do that. So we're safe, that we will stay and they will look after us. And the core message that we learn in this is that love needs to be earned. You have to do something to earn love. And you adapt that way in childhood to keep you safe. But then that stays with you. That's your first relationship. That's the first relationship you're learning to navigate. And it becomes the blueprint of all the relationships that follow in your life and in your adulthood. So they resurface. So what you did with your parents, you're going to repeat in every relationship. Yeah. Then how it shows up in adult relationships, it's this hypervigilance, right? Where you notice every shift in your partner's mood or energy. You are so tuned in because now you got to survive. You got to keep their love. You got to earn their love. You got to understand what you need to do to keep their love. And make sure they are happy and steady. And if it shifts, you freak out, right? So yeah, panic sets in if anything shifts, if anything's different. And you have a constant need of reassurance. You need to constantly make sure they still love you. You check, do you still love me? Do you still choose me? You need to hear it over and over again. And it's never enough. It doesn't stop. You become very clingy. You need constant reassurance. You're clingy. You seek closeness to feel safe. And maybe you protest behavior, you test them, you push them away. You have dramatic reactions. And there's this deep fear in you that if they really knew me, they'd leave. They wouldn't love me. And the paradox there is, of course, the behavior that you then play out to prevent abandonment causes abandonment. They eventually leave because this is not something anyone can endure. I think both partners, like you yourself doing that, being in that again, is exhausting. It is so toxic. And your partner having to live with that, having to navigate that. When you don't know what you're doing, when you're unaware, and your partner doesn't understand what's happening and is unaware, it doesn't work, It'll always end in a breakup, always. So the cycle of the abandonment fear. So as a child, we have hope, right? As human beings, we have hope. We always hope. Excuse me. And you think, okay, my dad left or my mom abandoned me. Like she's not looking after me. Okay, I gotta be better. I'll try something else. You've repeatedly have this hope. If I do this, then they will love me. Then I will get what I need. So say, you want your dad's attention, your dad's love, and your dad loves soccer, and then you're like, all right, I'm going to watch soccer. I'm going to get into soccer. I'm going to play soccer. I'm going to do that. So then he's going to love me. So you do that and you try really hard. But then your dad obviously has his own stuff going on and he keeps abandoning you or he keeps not showing his love. And then your hope gets dashed, you go, again, I've been abandoned. Okay, let me try something else. And you keep going. As a child, you keep going. You don't lose hope. You try, anything. What else? I'm just trying to find another example. Your mom likes you to be quiet. Doesn't want you whinging. Stop whinging. You're always whinging. Be quiet, be quiet. And then you have your needs and you want to express and that you need something or you're feeling something, but then you don't want to annoy her, so you shut up. You keep it inside and you're just like, I'm going to be pleasant. I'm going to put a smile on my face and I'm going to pretend I'm happy. And then my mom will love me and she'll be happy I'm there. But then your mom still abandons you and she still makes you feel like you're unloved because that's just her pattern, right? That's her thing. Our parents, in all of this, our parents aren't bad. Our parents have their own stuff, right? We all have our own stuff and we all do this stuff to our children if we want to or not. Some more than others and some have it worse than others. But, so we won't be focusing on parents and why at all. But they're in their pattern of not being able to look after us, not being able to love us, care for us. And we keep trying to make it happen, thinking that it is us, it is because of me, my mom doesn't love me. So I'm going to change and I'm going to try anything to make her love me. When it has nothing to do with us. It is never us. We are all lovable. We are all, from our nature is lovable. We are all perfect the way we are. We are born, like every baby is meant to be loved. No one here is unlovable. So, but as children, obviously we think, what did I do? Why am I not good enough? Yeah, so eventually, so you keep trying and your hopes keep getting dashed and you keep trying until you get to a point where you stop hoping because it hurts too much. It's like a double hurt. It's like the abandonment and your hope being dashed. Having this hope and then didn't work. And on top of that, I'm being abandoned. So it's like this double whammy. And you reach a point where you're just like, I can't do this anymore. It's not safe to hope. It's not safe to want love. It's not safe to be safe, to look for safety. And you sort of give up and shut down, which is horrible. So horrible. It just hurts too much. And then in your adult relationships, this surfaces again. You meet someone safe. You start a beautiful relationship. But then your brain starts saying, don't trust, don't hope. And you start with this mindset already of, don't believe it. Don't let yourself fall. Don't go all in. Do not believe it. We're going to sit on the sidelines and we're just going to wait for this to end. Because it always does. Makes me cry. So close to home. And then you start sabotaging. Where you better end it before it begins, because you don't want to feel the pain again. You don't want the disappointment. And that's your prison. That's the prison of this insecure attachment. You long for love so much, and at the same time you fear it, so you don't allow it. It's a prison. Sorry about that. Then how do we get out of that, right? First thing is awareness. You have to be aware it's happening. You need to understand what's going on and where it's coming from. And that's why this has been such a big game changer for me. It's such an epiphany. I can't believe I'm only learning this now. So you have to recognize that the panic, the whole cycle that happens, and the panic, the fear, it's old. It has nothing to do with now. Nothing. It is an old thing that you need to realize and recognize. You need to pause and you need to name what's coming up. I personally, as soon as I learned that, you got to be aware of it, and then you got to realize it's old, it's not now. The first thing I thought was like, no, but maybe it is now, because I don't know if this person is safe. I don't know if they're going to stick around, if this is my forever after. So maybe it's not, But then that's exactly it as well, And that's where you can bring in your mindfulness. That's where you can bring in your whole inner work that you've done, where you surrender, you let go, you trust the universe, you trust God to know what's right for you. You remember that everything that happens for a reason. So you can trust that you are safe, that whatever is meant to happen is going to happen. And from there, start the relationship fresh and just see where it goes. And it doesn't have to last forever. Almost like if it's not meant to be, then it's not going to be. And that has nothing to do with you, your abandonment issues, and the cycle that you go in, because you're going to stop that, right? Because now you're aware of it and you're not allowing this old panic to take over, which doesn't mean the relationship is secure now and it'll last forever. No, we don't know what's going to happen, but we know that what I have been doing isn't working and will sabotage the relationship and will cause myself a lot of pain while in it. Like you're not even allowing anything to blossom because you are already sabotaging. You are already coming from a place of, this isn't safe and I don't really want this because it's going to hurt too much, so I'm not allowing it. Or, I don't know what real love feels like. I don't know what security feels like, feeling secure with someone. So I'm going to question it every day. Because I'm so scared. So be aware that these fears, I don't know what this is meant to feel like, and I'm scared that I'm going to lose you any day. Realize that that is old. As it comes up, that's old. That's from your childhood. And work with that fear. How do you work with that fear? Yeah, you're with your partner. And now you need the reassurance that they still love you. You have a panic, you have a fear. What do? Instead of going to your partner and saying, tell me you love me, tell me you still love me, tell me you still choose me, you go to yourself and you do somatic healing. You do somatic regulation. That can be breath work, grounding, yoga, things like, tapping and walking meditation, exercise, or exercise if it is regulated, so like dancing or tai chi, going into nature, being around animals, very healing, very grounding. Yeah, and you calm down the body so that you can re-engage your thinking brain. Because as the fear comes up, that, oh my God, does he still love me? Does she still love me? As that comes up, your prefrontal cortex, where all the rational thinking happens, shuts down and you go into survival. So the somatic work brings us back, calms our body down enough for our brain to switch on again, so that now we can rationalize and go like, oh, okay, he just didn't write me for 5 hours. That doesn't mean he doesn't love me anymore, And of course, then the healthy thing is to go to your partner and explain what is going on with you, what you're working through, so that they're aware and they can support you. And the right partner will support you in this, and eventually notice when you are going into these spirals, and they'll be able to carry you through it and make it easier for you. But it is your work. You need to do the work, right? You cannot rely on your partner. And sometimes your partner might not have the capacity to hold you while you're going through that, because they're going through their own stuff. And you're going to need to be able to do it on your own and with your friends and other support people. Then you need to change your beliefs. You need new beliefs. The old ones of I'm unlovable and I'm not worth it. You got to change that. You need to understand that your needs are not too much, that you can voice them, you can speak up, you can be authentic again in who you are. You can own yourself again, and you can show up fully. And that is 100% okay and valid. Then you need to understand that love does not need to be earned. You don't need to do anything for your partner to love you. You don't have to perform. There's nothing you need to be or do for love. That's where we fall into that trap of thinking we need to be rich or beautiful. It's when we don't have that inner self-worth and inner love, that self-love, because we never got it in our childhood. We think that we need to earn love by being beautiful, or by being rich, or by having that car, or by having this job, or by being really smart. There's something, and we want to fill the void of I am not worthy, I am not enough. So we need to find that it is so important to find our self-love, to understand that we are worthy. So creating a lot of compassion for yourself is very important. And then we need safe connections, because healing does not happen in isolation. Never. Especially trauma. You can't heal trauma in isolation. You need safe people. This is the most important thing, that if you are doing this on your own, you're going to struggle. It's going to take a really long time, and the body itself will not heal from the trauma. So it's going to keep reacting. But you can do your inner work on your own. You have to do it on your own. It is a journey, an isolated journey that then brings you into the wholeness of everything. But the specific healing of trauma and the releasing it in the body is something you cannot do in isolation. You need to co-regulate. You need other safe people. Yeah. And that's when you then need to practice new patterns in your relationships. I think. So that's the thing. Like, you can do so much work on yourself. You can learn all the things. You can find safe people to practice with and release with, like going to yoga, slow yoga, so like yin yoga, and working through um, just allowing the body to sort of release. But the real stuff, I think, with this attachment thing, with this insecure attachment, the real work, I think, happens only in relationship. And so it's tricky finding the right partner to do this work. And it's tricky going through it and being so triggered and then doing the work. It's hard, it's not easy. So I guess, therapy, for most people, many people, maybe coaching, having someone there who can guide you through it, someone who knows how to help you, someone who's been through it and can help you, and can just offer you, just this guidance, and maybe in a safe space. Like I coach in nature with my horses to help people heal. And sometimes the thing that is the most healing is simply having me there, present, empty, and surrounded by nature, birds, and the horses. It is so healing. Yeah. So this is a very deep human work, about the mind, the body, but it's never the whole story, obviously. My podcast isn't about this stuff, but it is about something, deeper. It's about, consciousness, about the true self. And, all of this stuff that I talked about today is, part of the illusion. It's part of Maya. That doesn't mean that it's not real. It is very real in this world, on this plane, on this human plane. It is very real and is something that we want to work through. Yes. But on another plane, where we are consciousness, where we are spirit, where we are the soul, where we are the awareness, this stuff doesn't touch us, right? We could, from there, be healed in an instant because we don't attach. We detach. We kill the ego. We're not identified, and then there's who's there to be abandoned? No one, right? And if you can do that, do that. That is the ultimate work, and that's what I'm trying to do as well. But until I can do that in a relationship, I'm going to also work on this to heal the body as well, because my physical body, I still have to look after it. It's my vehicle in this life. So I feel the tension, I feel the anxiety, and I want to release that. And I know how to now. So I will do that gently while also working on letting go, not being identified as the person, not taking identity, not identifying with my ego, to allow that to melt away, which is easy for me when I'm single. And it is incredibly difficult for me when I'm in a relationship. But that's the work. And I love that I know that now. I did not know where it was coming from and what I was doing and why. I hope if this is your pattern, I hope that this helped you understand why you are doing it, that it's not your fault, that you as a child did something so incredible to protect yourself, to survive. No child is meant to have to do that. Children are meant to be loved unconditionally. They're meant to be celebrated. They're meant to be, made to feel like they're amazing and they can do anything. And if you as a child had to fawn and pretend and act to feel safe and to feel like you're surviving and that you'll be taken care of, that is horrible. No child is meant to have to do that. And if you did that, then, thank yourself. Thank that part of you that kept you safe all these years. Hold it close. Have so much compassion and love for it. And love it even now when it shows up in your relationships, trying to sabotage you. It is doing what it learned to do to keep you safe. And it doesn't understand that it now is not keeping you safe anymore, that it is now harming you. It is a program running that once protected you and that is now harming you and your relationships. So have a lot of compassion for it and heal yourself with that love. Never try and push something away from yourself. Never try and think something with you is wrong, that you're doing something bad, that you're broken. Never utter those words. Never let yourself believe that. You are doing the best you can. Your body, your brain, your everything is incredible. It knows exactly what to do to keep you alive. And it forms programs, right? Your subconscious mind is running. It's a software that is running to keep you alive. And it's just time now to change it, because whatever it's doing isn't helping us anymore. So don't see it as the enemy. Your behavior isn't the enemy. This insecure attachment is not something bad that you need to get rid of. It is something that you need to embrace and love and change gently. Let me know if this resonated at all, if it helped, if there's something you'd like to add. And I will see you next week.